Yeah.
There we go. So what did you just say when you were looking at this?
Well, you think of this, you think of someone like Agnes Martin or someone that does minimal art, and it's also conceptual art. They have the idea. These are traces of her staples with the pieces of paper. Mm-hmm. So they form a grid, they form a pattern here on the wall.
But there is a line.
And there is a line, yeah.
There is form.
Exactly. So it's akin to that, yeah. We're in agreement. Talk to the camera.
It's just expanding the ideas.
Yeah, expanding the ideas of a minimalist conceptual artist.
How do you
Did
know
you get all that? Oh,
thanks.
Oh, great.
Who the artist is?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I just explained. It's all on tape.
I heard minimalist, expressionist.
Yeah, no,
what does that
not
mean?
conceptual, not expressionist.
What's it a concept of? Oh, I see.
It's a concept of a grid pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is. Yeah, it's got everything what you said.
Yeah.
It's got lines.
Line. It's got form.
Well, you have lines, you have implied lines as well as physical lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Implied lines. Okay, show me the implied lines.
Directions.
It's a grid pattern.
They're implied.
Yeah, they're all implied lines.
Just
but
like dots are implied.
It's like the king's new clothes. It's implied clothes. He's naked, but it's implied clothes.
No.
I don't
No.
see the lines that you're talking about. I don't see.
Do you see a line right here, implied?
I see a random.
A direction. It's implying.
I see
No,
random. I don't see.
There's an equidistance of space between the staples. I mean, this is thought out. It's not a random pattern. It's something that it is deliberate. There's a geometry to this.
Is that he had a piece of paper that he had on here. In other words, that a rectangular piece of paper that he ripped off.
Yeah.
And that's.
But there is
But they were
a
spaced.
John Cage is known as using I Chi or random, and the element is nothing he did was random. He set up a parameter, and so consequently every artist has a parameter, and what it is trying to understand that parameter.
It's marking space.
Language I don't understand.
Well, no, but you will.
You will. I mean, it's marking space.
It's not something
here.
that's instantaneous because it doesn't have the same constant process that you're used to.
You know,
at
I've
this
taken
point,
a
at
lot
this
of
point.
courses on abstract art, and I just.
But our abstract art is not what deals with this.
I
It's
know
more
because
non-objective.
I see line and color in that. I don't see what the hell you're talking about. I don't see anything other than random.
You
well,
follow
even
random.
if it's random, it's fine because that's another legitimate concept. I
Well,
mean, but it is marking a space.
Rich and I were talking before. Everything is art.
Well, that's what
It just
Marcel
really is-
Duchamp said. Everything is art.
Everything is art.
Whatever
Okay.
you want to call art would be art according to Duchamp. Duchamp had the most profound influence on 20th century art than any other person because he had this idea that anything, he had a urinal, a bottle rack, and if he labeled it art, it was art. And that has influenced everyone from Warhol to the conceptual artists.
But then you have, in the second half of the 20th century, you have John Cage,
Yes.
which became very influential because he was teaching at the New School. And so consequently,
the-
all of those thinkers.
How would you suggest this should
Duchampian
influence
ideas.
me? How should this influence me?
It isn't influence you, it's just to understand.
How do I understand it? What is it that I'm to understand?
The spatial relationships here. You're looking at marking a spatial territory. You may like it or not like it. It may be bad art, not a masterpiece in my opinion, but it's a legitimate artistic effort and creation on the part of the artist.
Look at some of the most primitive artists you collect. You call it art?
can I say? I'm inspired. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. Okay,
Right.
I feel something from the art. It comes through to me.
Do some people
Okay.
that you
And
know?
wait.
Wait. Do some people that you know not feel the same way about the same art as you?
Of course.
Okay. That's what this is.
That's what this
That's
is.
asking.
Same thing.
And so
Some people don't get turned on. Some people go, yeah.
But you know, I often look at things. In fact, in my own collection, I'll look at things. I'll see something. Could be years later, and I'll start to look at it, and start to
That's
understand.
right.
Give
something
it time.
about
That's right.
This is going to be
That's what happens to shots of cage.
I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to get something out of this.
Yes, you'll look at it every day, and at the end of the show,
gone.
and when it's gone, you'll miss it. Or by sometime during the show, you'll see that there is something
Or you might
behind
be
it.
glad it's gone.
Or you may still
Or you
need
might
it.
see something later on.
Yeah.
And it'll
Yeah.
recall, you will recall this.
How does this make you feel?
It makes me feel that like the artist was trying to express something very deep inside himself, and maybe it's an in-showed idea. It's still being formed. It's more like a process. He's trying to discover
I didn't
his vision.
What is it? How does it make you?
It makes me curious more than anything, and want to get closer and inspect these. How many shreds are left? How many are just bare? Knowing that he tore them off, it's a curiosity that it brings out. At least makes you try to think, what is it? I mean, I'm not saying it uplifts me or it depresses me one way or another. It's just the fact that it is an artist striving to express something about spatial relationships. I mean, I consider this spatial art. I'm not saying it's great art. I'm not saying it's horrible, but there's good art and bad art.
I think the conversation is basically whether it could be considered art at all. Is that
Oh, there's
what
no
our
question that
conversation?
it's art. It's
It
an
is
artist's
already.
expression. Yeah.
The degree is depending on the individual. But the one thing that I might help is when I make things or when I look at things, I want to be uncomfortable. I want to be.
Fine.
I teach to be uncomfortable.
I think that's valid. I think
In other
that's
words,
very
I
valid.
don't want to
question.
know everything.
I
And
think
in
that's
this
very
case,
valid.
when I look at it at first, I don't know everything. So it's sort of like a puzzle. And then I try to put the things together. And then possibly there are things that question things that I've been told, and I've got to rationalize those in a way. But it is all about a process. Now this process here, we can rationalize how it might have been done. We can assume because of the way the staples are put in and the paper in, because we know that when we pull something off and it's been stapled, that there's residue from it. But everything that has been stapled to a wall has a being that did not happen accidentally. But the implication is, and the implied line is, or the implied symbolism, or the implied form, are results of it.
I've been fascinated at times when the teacher would take all their things off the blackboard, but they leave their tacks up there. And you're sitting there not even paying attention, but you just start glance at it. And all of a sudden, I start seeing things. The way the tacks are ordered and everything. It wasn't even intended to be art, but it's fascinating to see that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You see something that wasn't intended.
This was intended. There's an intentionality.
I'm not saying
that's the difference.
Yeah,
There's an intentionality here.
That's the difference. He's doing what the teacher did accidentally.
That's right. That's a good way.
Yeah.
Well, this is definitely intended. No
Yeah.
question about it. It just, I have a mental block. I
Look
just
down
don't
here.
understand.
Come here. Look down
How
here.
this,
Look at this side of the room. And just look at this. This side art. You're right down to it. You see everything. You see that. Huh?
It's intended.
Everything down there is intended?
Absolutely it's intended to do that.
By whom?
By by the people that at first done it architecturally.
No, I'm talking about
then
this
by-
thing, I'm talking about this thing, and this thing, and this thing, and all those little things.
Oh.
And if you just look at that whole thing,
They're-
it's all a bunch of
they're-
random
they're-
things.
No, it's not random at all. It's there for an intention for somebody to see it at that particular place.
Only to pick it
Somebody's
up.
going into the movie, and that is right there for somebody that's
This
going to
alone
the
by
movie
this,
to
yes,
see.
but I'm saying the whole, this is the whole wall. Now take this whole side over here now.
Right.
And talk about that. Is that intended?
The sewing
The whole
machine,
thing?
the sewing machine is intended to be there because there's a peer person that's taking the tickets and somebody wants to
Yeah.
sew.
But was it put there in relationship to this? Was it put there in
So
relationship to
is
this?
It was there because the person determined it.
Yeah.
Just like people determine things.
But what I'm trying to point out is this person determined the whole
It
thing.
wasn't
here.
an accident.
This is just
This was
an accidental thing.
It's a
Like raindrops.
hodgepodge.
There's
Yeah,
very
like
strong
raindrops.
similarities. I'm just not evaluating, barely understanding, nothing more.
Yeah.
I know it can be
I mean,
difficult.
it's my failure. I just
No,
can't
it's your
get there.
persona at this point.
I can't
What it's doing,
believe
it's
I
widening.
get there.
It's going to widen.
If you look at this every day for the next 2 months, I think you'll see more in it. Just glance at it, not spend 20 minutes, but take
you
a
will
minute
when
every
it's not
day.
there, then you're going to look at
Yeah.
this wall and
Differently.
you will look
Yes.
differently at it.
Yeah.
It won't be the
I
same
am looking forward
to that.
to something else.
That, but you will look.
With more content, yeah. This lacks content.
I'm a
But
very
we're not
visual
talking
person.
about
I don't.
set
He is.
I don't.
I know,
I don't
I know.
understand. I don't
It's
understand
minimal.
nothing.
But what about minimal art? Do you know what minimal is?
Yes.
Starting with Mondrian, just a
Yes,
line, a
absolutely.
vertical line, horizontal. Well, this is an extension of that in a sense. It also has to do with minimalism.
Well, I
at
see
the home.
beauty in the colors and the lines.
Well, there is color here, but it's more subtle. If you see the shreds of paper that are left, they are very colorful and they vary from pink to white against the green background. So you have to realize that this is really a whole extension of the minimal mindset.
And we each see what we see. We don't see what somebody else does. We see what we see there. To me, I'm imagining right now how neat that would be if all of a sudden I saw a man walking in there and a woman walking out of the other door over there.
When I came in here, I went into the men's room. I came out, and I was trying to find what it was that
Yeah,
you
we
were.
couldn't find it.
We couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean anything. It's just that we couldn't find it.
Yeah. It doesn't shout out to you, it whispers. Maybe that's a way to look at it. It doesn't proclaim itself. It takes a person.
Instantaneous.
Yeah, it takes a person to discover it. It's a process of
It
discovery,
demands another kind of quality.
a voyage of discovery.
Yes.
So is this
It's like the.
help in your understanding and move forward your feelings about what art is?
Yes.
what it could be?
Yes, because it's one other creative artist expression. This is a serious artist. Whether you like it or not, you've got to take him seriously.
Could you
because-
find any way that this could be reduced or increased or
Yes.
make it any?
Now you're getting somewhere, yes.
Now
You
start-
could-
Now you're
you-
reaching.
So
Yeah.
what would you do? Pull off some of the paper?
Or keep some of the paper on, tear some of it off, take off all the shreds, just leave the staples. They're just different variations on the theme.
It's sort of like the museum where they are going to put in a large for the 20th century. It's like they moved from
This
the
guy wrote
20th
this?
in the 20th
Huh?
first
No,
century.
Wallace
they
Stevens
moved
wrote
something
this.
from the 20th century,
That's right.
which they haven't thinking. They're thinking anew, and what's here, this is making you think.
See, these are the papers that were up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Mhm.
I'm truly happy
poems.
that
We're not
they
saying.
don't have any more of his work in place.
Okay.
Or if they.
Well, hopefully
okay,
by
so-
November, you'll feel a
What if
little
that-
bit
what-
warmer to
What
it.
if they had a one-man show of this guy's art?
Oh, that could be fun. Then you would have more to see.
Yeah.
more
And
possibilities.
he'd probably do variations
You
on
realize
the theme.
you're
and not
holding the
just-
paper that was stapled up
Maybe.
I
there.
know.
Maybe.
See,
Perhaps.
there's a context to that too.
It's all new.
It's a different way of looking at the world. I mean, any artist,
It's a question,
his
not
vision.
an answer.
Raises more questions than answers.
Well, you know, what you said, art doesn't have any limits.
It shouldn't.
Just in your own mind, what you think is,
Just think about it. Answers go nowhere. Questions go somewhere.
Say that again.
Yeah, I like that.
Answers go nowhere. Questions go somewhere. I'm not saying where.
well, answers also.
They open your mind.
Answers are resolved. In other words,
But-
it's
but
on to
they-
something else.
but-
Whereas
but-
question is an ongoing.
But the answer opens up the doors for new questions.
That's
Hopefully, but that doesn't mean there is. Questions do.
Many people have answers that are absolutes. There's no absolute here in this art because it's open-ended, so that it attempts to stretch your mind and stretch your imagination, just as you've been over the course of the week. You've seen this. You're questioning. You're trying to get it.
That's
You're
the
trying to
greatest thing
understand.
that you can do.
And that's the best thing that could happen to you as an
I
art.
understand abstract music, soft tone music, it just,
Philip Glass.
it doesn't
This is
work
very
in
similar.
my mind. It just, I'm just very simplistic. I'm a literal
Or
person.
John Cage's music.
You know, you have to say, yeah, that's a brick. I know
Well,
it's a brick.
4 minutes and 13 seconds, I'm sure, which is silent. That might be something that would upset you for a moment, but it's great because you're hearing everything that's going on while that piece would be
But it
played.
wouldn't upset a Quaker.
Normally.
Or a Buddhist.
No, I think it's, because you will, what you see from this point, I think, will be actually a
I think there should be a
reflection of
mannequin.
things.
I understand
My-
the
my-
shot a lot better if I look at this world and seeing the
Put her
work
out.
and seeing pieces of things that.
It would be interesting Barnes being alive today and see how his thinking
Well,
would be.
that's what I'm looking at this. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of color, but I mean, it was just a matter of the paper that he took. He didn't do anything about.
That's right.
creating the
Well,
color.
that's
Does it
fine.
make
That's
color-
legitimate.
is- Paper collage has been used in historically
Sure.
since
Sure. Okay, but
Rob.
But I mean, you say, and I consider it valid because you say that there is a intentionality to the implied line. I don't see it, but that's fine.
But a dash is an implied line.
Yeah, but I don't see
The
a dash.
spatial-
I just see random.
No, the spatial divides are pretty much equal. They're not exactly equal, but just look at the intervals between the staples. Instead of looking at the
What if I
staples,
were
you
to
look at
connect
the
those?
intervals.
But I'm saying,
You know, just connect them like dots. How would you connect?
No, but I see random intervals between them.
Well, that's fine. Randomness in 20th century art is
Well,
is a
what
great
you think?
principle.
Everything is art, so that's I.
No, it's like the best example of randomness in 20th century is Jean Arp. You know, he took paper and threw them up in the air, and then wherever they landed, and it was called, according to the laws of chance, the randomness. And that's one of the great works of art of the 20th century, is Jean Arp's pieces arranged according to the laws of chance.
If that's what you consider to be.
Well,
great
Jean
pieces,
Arp.
Fortunately, he's done a lot of sculpture that, in my mind, I consider to be much greater. But
Well, that's good art and
It
bad art.
depends a process of coming into the body of work that he did.
Well,
Without that, he
didn't
couldn't.
just throw up some material in the air and it drop and say that's.
Yes, he did.
sculpture.
That's pieces of paper. He did that.
Well, those wonderful forms that he did, and, you know.
But those came.
Those
within
came out of those
within that and
experimentations.
Out of that. Too.
Yeah, he was experimenting. This could be considered a kind of laboratory art in a sense. It's experimentation. He's playing around with conceived notions of visual excellence.
The beauty is that it's in the mind of the people. That
Yes,
everyone
exactly.
thinks. But our kid was ripping up paper and throwing it on the ground.
As
Anyone
long as it
could do.
grows.
I could do. You could do. And to say that, hey, we're in the same sentences as Jean Arp, I find it ludicrous.
But you didn't do it first, and you didn't do it in the context of making art.
And the context of his other work.
Oh, in the context of making art.
Yes.
And his other work, it relates to his other
So then art
sculpture.
now is a matter of context.
You, as the director of the Outsider Art Gallery, know that art is a matter of context.
So
Because
that-
not a single artist would be in your gallery without having a story.
So that if I rip up a piece of paper and throw it on the ground, it's not art. If Jean Art does, it's art.
It depends. No, it depends. It could be.
His
Depends
is in
on.
the context of his other work, which does give it more credence. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it goes along with his whole philosophy and reflected in some of his other pieces. So this is the process.
I truly, in my mind, to be 1,000% wrong, I think they're laughing at all of us, saying, "Yeah, we're going to get intelligent people to nod their heads and say, yeah, this is art."
That's the most cynical thing you could say.
I don't disagree with you there at all. I mean, it's one man's concept.
Have you ever
as I
seen
said
a
with K.P. Smith's
kindergartner
things.
who's handed a bunch of things to work with? No, a kindergarten child.
Yeah.
And handed a bunch of things to work with and say, here, just do something. And just watch them do something. And just observe these different children doing these different things.
Experiment.
Now for them, at their level where they are, that's art. They're creating.
Yeah.
Until
With
somebody
their
comes
life
along and says,
experience
now
that
you
they
should
bring
put
to
this
it.
over here, or it should be this way like this. And then the whole thing shifts. Now, I have to.
Well, I mean, they're not bringing life's experiences to their work. I mean,
what?
it's
Children?
all art. No, the kindergarten child.
There's an innocence there.
Yes, it's their whole life experience.
Well, but
right
I mean,
there.
it's
I
very
pick another
limited.
child for that reason.
It's limited to a couple of years
It
of
becomes
existence.
limited
that's
very
all.
quickly. But it's not limited when they're the child. The infant. growing
But
and
the art
exploring,
that they're creating is
seeing
limited
things
by
for the
their
first
experience.
time.
It's all very interesting, and I'm glad that you told me your feelings about it. I mean, so truly, there's nothing you would look at that you would think other than it's someone's form of expression, which is art, which is fine. I mean, I think
I don't
it's
think
very
it always
valid.
has to be an intended thing to be considered art either. I used to walk at a bank, a second floor in Harrisburg when I was studying with Hidley, and coming into the wall there was a factory, and it had all these broken windows out, these black spots, and every time I walked by there and I'd look at them, and I'd just stop for a while. And boy, did that get me going when I got inside. Just seeing it.
But that was
And it
just
wasn't made
a
intended.
freak
It
of
wasn't
nature,
intended.
so
It
to
was
speak.
beautiful.
It just happened.
Well, the art
You-
happened. The art happened in his mind. He was the one that recognized it.
He applied it.
He applied
Yeah.
it.
Right,
Yeah,
and I think that the art,
Yeah.
I think the art
And it's still in my
contemporary
mind.
is something
Yeah.
that's more in the mind than necessarily out in front of us. It's how it affects
Well,
and how
we were
it's
talking
thought of.
before about artifacts. I mean,
Yes.
like these things, these primitive things. I mean,
Cave
they
painting.
weren't created to be art. A lot of times they're just created to be utilitarian,
Functional objects.
functional objects. But there's something in it that the person took it beyond that for some reason, or maybe the surface just got changed by the atmospheric conditions of age that took it forward. But in your mind, it became something that enhanced your life.
That's
it
right.
moved your life forward. So this intellectually is enhancing your life.
Well, it's a form of continuum.
It's continuing and questioning the idea of what is art or what can be art.
In the search for beauty or for meaning, and this has a certain subtle. Maybe it's
Bob,
too subtle.
We should all think about creating a show of things that we don't consider art.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
that
idea.
and that quite frankly is a creation of art.
It's true. It's a beginning of.
Well, that's pretty hard to do because right away you're delegating it and consequently you're setting it up as something.
That's commercial art.
And you're starting with the negative, which.
Yeah, no, I am.
I think it would reverse itself
What
within
do
the
you
process.
consider? No, I'm thinking about things like the weapons of destruction, you know, that are created to destroy people. Okay, now
Well,
if
a
you
weapon
say that
by
everything,
itself,
you know,
Who knows?
everything that's created, you know, everything is art.
Design. It's design.
You know, then
A weapon.
I'll say again, I never said everything is art. I said everything can be art. It can be thought of as art. It could be, there
Yeah,
can be
but-
intentionality in it, and
or maybe call where do we
nothing
draw the line?
major that I can conceive of that ever was created majorly that has anything to do with design. Design has formulated that terminology after it was done. It's never before it's done.
And you could take a bomb that could be very sleek and have great lines in it, like a Brancusi sculpture, and it could have a certain beauty, although it has the potential for horrible destruction.
It's only made for one reason. A weapon is made for only one reason, to kill. I mean, there's no way in the world it's meant for anything else.
Well, you could have people say that it's made for protection and saving other people from
That's
destruction.
hard.
I don't know.
That's kind of hard.
No, I mean stretching. I mean, but that's stretching the mind. Like this is stretching the
True.
mind too.
True.
It's really stretching the mind.
Well, it is. It's intended to. The artist wants people to question this and to have controversy over it.
I love to be questioned by it. I'm not.
Well, that's the way we learn. I mean,
Yeah,
That's like a
that's
child.
why we're all different. I mean,
That's like a child. Wouldn't it be great to always be a child?
I don't know. I don't think so.
The element
I
is
don't
that
think so.
you have more experience, but you can still have that ingenuity in your mind of looking at things and challenging yourself. The problem
I
is
wouldn't wanna go
that
through my
that's what a
things
child is. The problem is that we grow older, we don't challenge ourselves. I think that's one of the problems.
I'd like to see what else this guy does. But if he spends his whole life
No, this
doing
is a good
it's
show
just,
because they
yeah.
aren't, none of them are professing one thing together. It's about an idea.
Oh, no, I like that idea. That they're all really quite mind
It's all
stretching.
different, separate from liking or disliking something as a viewer. You can like it or not like it. You can come up to your gallery and some people like some of these things and say, what's this stuff in here? This is called art?
But they can still look at it and try to understand.
I remember one time a woman came up and she said, I hate this. How can you call this art? And I love that. And I said, you know, that's great. You're emotionally moved by it.
Yeah, at least you're getting a reaction
Yeah,
out
and
of
then,
it.
you know, then I explained to her what her feelings
I'm
were.
getting a reaction from you.
But my reaction is like totally negative.
Well, you may think it's bad art, but
I
it's
don't
still
like-
art.
I don't like to be negative at all, any time.
No,
What
you're
I'm
not that-
saying-
But it's spelled with a P.
With a P?
Yes,
What do you mean?
positive.
No, it's
Your
not.
negative is a positive.
That's
How do you
right.
know? You will. It will.
You will. You
Now
have to
that
look at it every day.
Now that I've